All right. What I'm bringing today is uh, just a look on society as a whole and how society is really have much chained to it. You know, it's like it's a psychological slavery that we're in, and not so much a mental. And a lot of people think they're free, and you know, a lot of people think they can go to college and really learn, or go to even school in general and learn. Which I'm not saying you can't learn. What I'm saying is that this system and this educational system has specific duties. Okay. So we just taking a look at the society and the system as a whole that we live in, and to do that we got to go back a bit. So I'm gonna start in this book called Occupy the Bible. Okay, and this is on page 35, and it's referring to the Roman society back 2,000 years ago. Okay, the Romans were a slave society that dominated much of the known world through exercise of power backed by brute force. So the Romans dominated the world by military might and force. Okay, the Romans enslaved many of those they subjugated, and the Roman society was built on a slave system. The same way our country and most countries around the world is built on a slave system. Okay. Slaves, often subject to brutal conditions, revolted several times, and the Roman response was military conquest and terror. So whenever groups would revolt because of the oppression they were in, Rome stamped them out by terror and by military might. And the same with what happened in the 60s with the revolts going on in the 60s. The power structure stamped them out by fear and by military might, which the police are just an extension of the military. Alright, so that was how to occupy the Bible. Now, where did my book go? One moment. Alright, now, this is another witness, Karl Marx. Okay, this is out of the book Capital, Volume 1, okay, which is a critique of capital and capitalism as a whole. But Karl Marx is going to get into talking about the Roman system and compare it with our system today. Okay, now this is page 719 in Karl Marx Capital, Volume 1. It reads, the Roman slaves were held by chains. Okay, the wage laborer or wage slave is bound to his owner by invisible threads. Okay, what are these invisible threads? Well, we'll read about a couple, and Karl Marx is going to give us a couple. The appearance of independence or the appearance of freedom is maintained by a constant change in the person of the individual employer. So he says it appears that you're free, or it appears that you're independent, because you're able to change your masters freely. Okay, you're able to go from one master to another, or the modern day term is one boss to another. Okay, freely. But the end all be all is that you still have to go back to a boss. Okay, so we see here that slaves were bound by fetters or chains, and today the wage slave is bound by invisible threads. Okay, now I'm gonna pick. We're gonna read a couple things out of this book, Marx in the Bible: A Critique of the Philosophy of Oppression by Jose Miranda. All right, and he has a couple of interesting things in here, and this is on page 8. Okay, the educational apparatus or the education system, which is in this modern system today, is designed to reproduce the prevailing social system. It is meant to produce the prevailing system of capitalism in this oppressive system which we are in today. So you're being taught to perpetuate this system. Okay. Through it, individuals are fashioned to occupy their proper place in the machinery. Basically, you're just, once you get spit out the education system, you're just going to be like a cog in the wheel. You're either the screw or the nut or the bolt, or you might be a spring, or you might be a wheel. The bigger the bigger the job, or the more prominent the job, the bigger piece you are in the cog. You understand? Thus, those who are able to situate themselves well, meaning your high-paying jobs, within the functioning social system are held in high esteem, while others suffer an inferior complex. People's very ideals are fabricated from within, meaning your ideas come from within. You understand what I'm saying? Come from within, and thus there occurs in history the most perfect type of slavery there has ever been. That of not only knowing that one is a slave, okay, not only knowing that one, not that of not only not knowing that one is a slave. So not only do you not know you're a slave in this society, but of holding as an ideal of life a situation which objectively is slavery. So not only do you not know that you're a slave, but in turn you're living a life as a slave and don't even know it. How much more perfect of a slavery can you get? You understand? To have someone doing slave work and not know they're a slave. But the most inescapable snare, or the most inescapable trap, is the necessity to earn a living in the terms imposed by the social system. So there is no need for chains or bars. There's no need for chains or bars to hold you down, because you're going to be held down by the necessity to earn a living. Okay. The slave who flees, meaning the slave who frees from this capitalist system, will be forced by hunger to return. He cannot think of marriage nor survival itself if he does not submit and render homage to the conditions imposed by the system. So you can't think of even surviving if you don't render yourself and give homage, okay, to the conditions imposed by the system, which in turn have you serving the system, okay, which if you ever look up the word mark and the term mark of the beast, a definition of that term is badge of servitude. Basically, you have your badge of servitude to the system in order to eat, okay, you're paying homage. The man has no choice but to accept or to die of hunger, therefore with his wife, together with his wife and children. So you either accept the ways of living your life to make a dollar so that you can eat, or you put that lifestyle down, okay, and you starve. That's your only two options, okay, in this system. So it has a nice grip on you, okay, which is not often seen by the unlearned eye. Let me go over to page 23 and listen to this. Same book, Marx in the Bible. There has never existed a socio-cultural system whose redefined constrictive power was so capable of entrapping and hooking people on such deep psychic levels as the capitalist system. Not only does it make them believe that they are free, but it makes them consider inserting themselves into the system and assisting it to function as a life ideal. For the slaves of old, there was at least the interior freedom of knowing that they were slaves. So at least they had the knowledge, the truth, to know they were slaves. Today, the system can allow its slaves to run physically free because it knows it has subjected them psychologically and ideologically. If by chance they should escape, they have no choice but to return. It is the only way they can survive. Okay, it's the only way you can survive, because you are psychologically entrenched in the system, and it's all you know. So if you don't know how to do anything the system does for you, you're trapped in it. Okay, so we need to come and start to learn what they have taken away from us, and the bottom line is they have taken the means of production. Since they have taken away your means to know how to get water, your means to know how to get food, clothing, shelter, and they do it for you, guess what? You have to go back to them to get all that stuff. And thus you have to work for them to be able to purchase it. But if a man knows how to get his own things, what does he need the system for? Okay. This is the last book I'm going to read out of Jose Miranda, Communism in the Bible. Alright. And he's about to show what Christ came to set up and what Christ did set up. And what a so-called Christian or a Hebrew or whatever you want to call yourself, what your job is. He reads, this is page 6 in Communism in the Bible. Our revolution is directed toward the creation of a new human being. And I think all Christians would agree, Muslims alike, anybody who believes in the scripture, okay? Anybody who is in religion, period, believes that the creation of a new human being is what the revolution is about. But it's not only that. Listen to this. And the indispensable means is a new social structure, okay? It is not perfectly obvious that an existing social structure has more efficacy, meaning more influence, okay, for education or miseducation than the exhortations or warnings of a classroom or temple. So what he's saying is society has more effect on what goes into your brain and what you do than a classroom or temple does, because you live 7 days a week in society. You'll probably spend not even 24 hours in a temple in a week. Maybe 5 to 10 hours in a temple a week, and that's maximum. Okay. So of course, where you spend most of your time has the most influence on you. Okay. How far can you get with the idea that a person should not place his or her heart in money and material things if the existing social system inculcates, just the contrary under pains of blow and death? So how can you tell somebody not to set their heart on money when money is the only means to eat and to live, and the system pits that against them? Either they chase this money or they die. Okay. How can you, unless you bring another system for them to thrive in, okay, or to change their heart from chasing after money, unless you set up a system that is not based on chasing money, it's going to be hard for you to tell them not to do it. Okay. Structural change will be a mere means for personal change, meaning if you change the society around people, that will change their personalities. That's just simple understanding. But a means so obviously necessary that those who fail to give it first priority, meaning social change is so obvious and necessary that those who do not give it first priority, okay, and want to talk about, oh, I want to change, I'm about changing people's hearts. Listen to what he said. If they don't give it first priority, they demonstrate by the very fact that their vaunted desire to transform persons or people is just empty rhetoric. So he's saying, if your heart isn't on changing society as a whole, then yo talk about changing a person's heart or changing a person's mindset, if you're not set on changing society and changing what they live in, you just talking. Because in order to change somebody's heart, they have to live in a conducive place to perpetuate what you're trying to teach them. Okay. It's just that simple. If you want to teach people peace, you don't put them in a violent society. You would put them in a peaceful society. Okay. And that's what I wanted to bring out. We live in a violent society, but we try to teach people peace and how to live in love. How can they understand love if they're not in a situation that produces love? So this is for all the Bible scholars and mankind alike. We need to produce a society that's for the people, that produces love and produces life. And with that, shalom.